Hey everybody, welcome back. We are still working on these beautiful summer winter hand towels. I have three completed, the blue, a green, and orange. Now I'm going in with a different green. I think this is sage, if I'm not mistaken. But so far, the entire process of weaving these has been a delight. Um, and it feels a little loose. It's weird. Might need to check my tension because normally it does not feel this loose. Yep, that's flopping. Oh, weird. There we go. That's much better. I was like, that is some floppy string. Um, so it's funny. I was just about to start this, and as oh no, I did that wrong. I was just about to start this. Let me undo this path because I did the wrong. Uh, oops, I did the wrong side for the first pass, and now I've got this tangled. This is not starting well. This is not boding well for me hitting the record button. Oh, out. Then, actually, just going to go ahead and pull this one out entirely. There we go. Anyway, correct that mistake. So, I was actually just about to start this recording and uh, start weaving this summer winter pattern when I got a phone call and I was like, what? Because it was Shacked calling me and they were actually just checking to see if I had my trap for my loom, which I do. But I just thought it was very nice that they actually were looking and saw an extra trap and they were like, "Oh, we need to make sure you have yours," which I thought was very sweet and thoughtful. So that's another reason to like Shacked. They have excellent customer service. Because even if you didn't call and complain, they might call you and check up to make sure you don't have a complaint, which I like. So I have been still just really enjoying this weave structure of summer and winter. And I've made a couple flub ups during the weaving process, but that's with anything. Sometimes you just lose track of where you're at and to make a pass. Most of them I went back and fixed, like you saw me do just there. But others I was like, I don't even know where I messed up, and it's too many passes back, so I'm just going to ignore it. But I just thought this would be a fun real-time weave. We have been doing the Tour de Fleece, which has been fun. But I've been considering actually moving that some of those videos to just to Thursday. I normally don't upload twice a week, but I know you guys are mostly here for kind of like the weaving and having a good time like that. I wasn't sure if you guys would really like to watch that fiber processing as much. So I don't know. I might move it to Thursday for fiber processing. We'll see. You guys can always drop a comment. Let me know what you think. So I've actually got a book haul the other day, which is really exciting. So this book haul is uh, different amigurumi, which that's something I'm going to try to do just on the side. And then also it is a little bit of the incandescent weaving and Crockenbrook. So I'm pretty excited about both of those. And I just started reading the incandescent weaving. So I don't know. If I read enough of it, maybe my first project on my other loom will try an incandescent weave. I still just have not decided what we're gonna do. I've been all aflutter with all of the weave structures. I've been looking at crackle weave, double weave, uh, the incandescent weaves. Uh, basically anything and everything is something I've been looking at the possibility of doing with that loom. And I haven't been able to pick what. So if there is one in particular that I've mentioned that sounds fun to y'all, maybe you guys should just hit me up and, drop a link in the or not a link, drop a comment below and let me know, because I would definitely love to do something you're interested in. And I'm just having such a hard time deciding. There's just been so many options and they're all so pretty. So it's really just kind of getting that, okay, which one's the right one for me right now. And this pattern has just been so fun. It's just this little starburst. And honestly, when I look at it, if you do like a slight treadle variation, you could probably get some really interesting appearances with it. I haven't tried it, except for where I've made mistakes, but that doesn't count. But those mistakes looked interesting. So I think if you intentionally went through and made some minor adjustments just on the treadling, you would get a really interesting pattern. Um, because that's one interesting thing about weaving is like a lot of the tie-ups are very similar. A lot of the treadling patterns are very similar. And really what you're doing, it's the order in which you're doing it. So you're not like inventing a new tie-up pattern or new treadling pattern. You're realistically just making variations on things that have already existed. Because weaving has been around for centuries. It is probably one of the oldest fiber arts in existence. I think they actually say it is the oldest fiber art in existence. But I also kind of think maybe they just haven't discovered some of the knitting and crocheting stuff, because weaving is a much sturdier fabric. So it would make sense that you would find more imprints of it, in my opinion. Uh, and they have found like trace fossils of knitting at a much later date. But in my mind, and I could be wrong because I'm not an archaeologist, but it just makes sense that if you have a sturdier fiber structure, you're more likely to get a trace fossil or even a piece of cloth from the sturdier fiber, even if it's not the earliest fiber art. So that's my opinion. I could be wrong, but it just makes more sense to me that you would invent like a needle based fiber art first in history because it would be more natural, like with your hands, to loop things and then make tools to better loop things because you can loop stuff without tools. It is much harder to use just your hands and weave. You can use just your hands and knot things. But also, maybe my theory for that is because I generally just think people are going to do things the easiest way first and then make it more complex as they go. And also, I am one of those people who thinks that we have not necessarily gotten smarter society wise over time. I think we've stayed about the same. Because, in my opinion, who's smarter? The first guy to invent a brick or a guy who, uh, or the second guy? So, the first, who's smarter? The first guy to invent the brick or the second guy to make a brick? It's the first guy, right? Like, I'm sorry. That guy's on the same level as the first person to make a computer, in my opinion. Like, think about it. He's sitting there and he's messing with this mud. And I know some people will be like, well, it could have been a girl. It's generic term. Generic term. I don't know who invented the first brick. I haven't done the research. Maybe we don't know. So, anyway, they're sitting there. They've got some mud they're messing with. And you're just like, this mud feels different from the other. Let's throw it in the fire. And who thinks that, right? Like, who sits there and thinks, what is going to really improve this fire is throwing wet dirt on it? No, that puts the fire out. So maybe he was trying to put a fire out because that's the only way I could think of throwing wet mud on my fire, especially when it's life. So maybe he's trying to put a fire out. He's like, wait a second. This special dirt turned into a hard stone. I bet I could repeat this. And then he repeats it and builds a wall, builds a house. Like, I'm sorry. Fight me on it. That person's a genius. At least on par with the first person to invent a code. It's just like, I don't know. That's my opinion. I think it's harder to be the first person to do something than to improve upon it later. And maybe I'm wrong in this opinion. I'm sure there's somebody out there like screaming at me, like, that's not how this works. But in my mind, that's how it works. Like, first dude to invent brick was the Elon Musk of his time. But in my opinion, the first people to invent these different types of fiber arts, like weaving and knitting, and bring them together, were basically the Einsteins of their time. They were the brilliant math people because this is based on math. And it led to modern coding and everything along those lines. So to pretend that they weren't these super brilliant people, I think is a little insulting. Like, they clearly were. Were you the first person to invent this? No, it seems simple to you only because it now exists. If it didn't exist, would you think to invent it? Mm-mm. If it didn't exist, would you think to invent it? Probably not. Yeah. You had to be a visionary. That's all I'm saying. And I think we get a little bit, you know, into ourselves and thinking our generation is the first generation of visionaries, or that there were no visionaries until the Industrial Revolution. But it's much easier to touch the sky when you're standing on the shoulders of giants. And I think that's what happens with a lot of different creations, including things like fiber arts, is someone is standing on the shoulders of giants and they're not realizing the contributions that came before them because they seem so simple now, but it's only simple because a brilliant person discovered it first. Um, I don't know. That's something I like about weaving and fiber arts, is because it's kind of seeing that creative process and seeing what those first visionaries did. They looked at this string and they looked at how to put it together in these beautiful, stunning ways, and they created these different arts. And I think it's cool. What do you guys think? Is my opinion on this completely off base? Is it a little bit insane? A little bit wrong? Maybe. I don't know. But I thought this was a fun real time weave. I have completed one whole pass of the project. I might do a little bit more. Change your guys' angle so you can see it from a different view as I build up maybe the second one. And maybe with a little bit less chit chat. You're right. Maybe. We'll see. Anyway, thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, share with your friends. This is just Weaving Thoughts with Ambrosia.